Well, today is January the 6th, the anniversary of the date which did not live in infamy. The Supreme Court has stepped in and said they will hear evidence and make a ruling as to whether or not Donald Trump can be kept off the ballot over insurrection. Buckle up, hang on.
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth!
Hi, this is Pastor Marty. Welcome to a weekend edition of the Afternoon Drive. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. We may not be the biggest or the most influential YouTube channel, but here is where you're going to get my rants, my ravings, and my undeniably flawless reasoning. So please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Once you are, smack the bell, click the word all to get notifications of every time I come on here to pontificate. Thank you for watching the Afternoon Drive. As you know, Colorado, I should say the Colorado Supreme Court, decided that they could take upon themselves a ruling as to whether or not Donald Trump is eligible to be on the ballot. And of course, they invoked the Insurrection Act. Then the Attorney General of the state of Maine, in a singular decision all by her lonesome self, said, yeah, Donald Trump can't be on the ballot in Maine because of insurrection. Now, in both cases, they stayed their decisions to allow Team Trump to appeal, which means automatically they're not really all that confident in the decisions that they've made. That's number one. Number two, of course, Team Trump was going to file appeals on that. So these rulings are now put on indefinite hold while they play out. The Supreme Court stated on Friday that they are going to step in and they are going to make a decision on this. And of course, the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media is in quasi-meltdown mode because they're basically saying that the Trump-picked justices are going to side with Donald Trump. But let's separate the fact from the fiction. Ray Epps was just sentenced to 6 months in prison. Really? Just 6 months, huh? There were people who weren't even in Washington, D.C., weren't even at the Capitol on January 6th, who have been given years-long prison terms based on things they had posted regarding January the 6th. Ray Epps was there, and he was egging people on. Of course, though, we are told he was not part of an FBI conspiracy. He was not there stirring anything up and agitating anything. And the New York Times said that this was all conspiracy theory, and it was really fostered by Tucker Carlson. Really? Let's take a little reminder of Ray Epps and who he was and what he was up to that day.
In fact, tomorrow, I don't even like to say it because I'll be arrested.
Well, let's not say it.
We need to go, I'll say it.
All right.
We need to go in to the Capitol.
Let's go!
So I'm going to put it out there. I'm probably going to go to jail for it. Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol. What? No! Peacefully. Fed. Peacefully.
Okay, folks, spread the word. As soon as the president's done speaking, we go to the Capitol. The Capitol's this direction. He's done speaking. We are going to the Capitol, where our problems are. It's that direction. He spread the word.
And of course, we have had one Republican member of Congress, Congressman out of Louisiana, who does kind of sound like Foghorn Leghorn, grilling FBI Director Wray about what happened that day.
Director Wray, last year, you might recall, sir, our exchange regarding the FBI's involvement on January 6th and prior. I'm happy to jog your memory to quote, according to the record, I asked you, did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol on January 6th prior to the doors being opened? You responded, I quote, again, I have to be very careful of what I say. To which I said, it should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol on January 6th. A year has passed. We sit here again a year later, we the people still do not have a definitive answer from you or anyone else in the Biden administration regarding the FBI presence and participation in the months leading up to the November election and in the weeks and days prior to January 6th and on January 6th here in D.C.
Now, after we were told for months and months and months, actually over 2 years, leave Ray Epps alone. He's actually a Trump supporter. Why do you Republicans, why do you MAGA people want to crucify one of your own? This is what we were hearing from the establishment Democrats and the establishment Republicans. Really? Egging people to go in? We got to go in! We have evidence being presented that the FBI may have had people in the crowd that day masquerading as Trump supporters. Were they stirring things up? Evidence that was not allowed to be presented.
Are you familiar with you know what a ghost vehicle is? Director of the FBI certainly should. You know what a ghost bus is?
A ghost bus?
Ghost bus.
I'm not sure I've used that term before.
Okay. Well, it's pretty common in law enforcement. It's a vehicle that's used for secret purposes. It's painted over. These two buses in the middle here, they were the first to arrive at Union Station on January 6th, 0500. I have all this evidence. I'm showing you a tip of this iceberg.
Mr. Chairman.
These two buses
Mr.
are
Chairman.
painted completely white.
Point of order.
This is a very significant hearing, Mr. Chairman, and these buses are nefarious in nature and were filled with FBI informants dressed as Trump supporters and deployed onto our Capitol on January 6th. Your day is coming, Mr. Ray.
And the J6 committee didn't even want to talk to Ray Epps. What was that all about? Well, let's go ahead and break this down. I do believe that the Supreme Court is going to step in and they are going to side with Donald Trump. Now, not necessarily the total exoneration that some within Team Trump and MAGA world are hoping for. I think the way they're going to rule, they're going to make this a really narrow ruling that a charge of insurrection is a federal matter. Therefore, the states can't make this decision unilaterally on their own. I think that's how this is going to be kind of their way of, yes, they're going to let Trump on the ballot, but they don't want to quote unquote, just give Trump an exoneration of quote unquote immunity. And since Donald Trump has never been charged at the federal level with insurrection, and even the impeachment that they tried to rifle through, which didn't go anywhere, and so he was not impeached over insurrection. The bottom line, there is no charge against Donald Trump for insurrection. No court has found him guilty of insurrection. Therefore, you can't make a decision saying he committed this crime, therefore he can't be on the ballot. I think that's how the Supreme Court is going to step in and deal with this. What would be interesting, though, and I don't know that they'll take it this far, But you almost wonder, would they actually have the courage to say, you know what? The Insurrection Act was put in at the end of the Civil War by strict Reconstructionists who wanted to punish the South. And they didn't want anyone who had been involved in the Confederate government ever being able to hold public office in the U.S. government. Will the Supreme Courts, are they going to step in now and say something like, you know what? That was what, 175 years ago? No. This no longer applies. I don't know that they'll take it that far, but what I do see, what I think that they will do, is they will say this is a federal charge. A state court cannot rule on this. A federal court has to rule on this. Therefore, since no federal court has found Donald Trump guilty of insurrection, he hasn't even by the Justice Department been charged with insurrection. Therefore, because he has not been found guilty and nothing has been proven that he did this on the federal level, states cannot keep him off the ballot. I think that is the ruling that we are going to get from the United States Supreme Court. It's not going to stop the libloons from decrying and their Trump derangement syndrome that the Supreme Court is covering up for Donald Trump, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. They want to be able to say, look, Ray Epps went to jail. Yeah, a 6-month little slap on the hand. He'll be in a Club Med somewhere, as a good little FBI informant, agitator, etc. It's all for show. And it isn't really for you, me, or anybody that really is looking into this seriously. And by the way, there are people on the left who also know that Ray Epps going to jail for 6 months is a joke. I mean, Due Dissidents, Jimmy Dore, etc., some insightful commentators on the left, they see this for the show and the sham that it is. Now, that doesn't make them Trump supporters because they don't agree with Trump's policies, but they do see this as a deep state knee-jerk reaction of doing everything they can to keep this man off the ballot. Why? They're terrified of him. Because he's upended the system. He's upended the industrial military complex. And they don't want him back in power. And they don't want to do other things to him. I got to be careful how I word this. They don't want to do other things to him because they don't want to make a martyred hero out of him either. So, this is it. This is going to be huge. And, but I do believe the Supreme Court will step in and they will decide this in Trump's favor without what you would call a complete and total exoneration. And you might even see one or two of the more liberal-leaning justices sign on to this as well. Because even they understand, we let this stand with Donald Trump, they're going to come for a Democrat the same way. And at some point, this tit-for-tat nonsense has got to stop. The rule of law has to actually stand, and we are finding more and more people on the left and the right. I'm talking about the people, not the politicians. The people actually want to try to find common ground that we get along. We don't hate each other all the time. Rush Limbaugh, back in the day, made a brilliant observation. People don't stay mad forever. They just don't. By the way, I can tell you as a pastor, and having dealt with problems in churches and people that get upset and they leave churches, or they want other people forced out of a church, or they want a pastor gone and they get mad and the pastor's done something and he resigns and he leaves and the next pastor, and he feeds on that and then doesn't realize that eventually people get over it. They're not angry anymore. They've moved past it. And because the next pastor in hasn't done anything to build anything, now they turn their guns on him because nothing's growing, nothing's happening, and whatever support he had was built on the fact that he was just trashing the guy that he succeeded. So it's the people suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, they want to be able to say, see, Ray Epps went to jail and Trump, he's an existential threat to democracy, which is what Biden keeps screaming. And now Donald Trump is punching back at Biden, saying, no, you're the threat to democracy. He's the one that's brought in authoritarianism. He's the one that's ruling as a fascist and wants to criminalize his opponents and figure out how to put them in jail so he doesn't have to actually run against them. Donald Trump didn't do any of that. What Donald Trump needs to start doing is releasing commercials reminding everybody how good the economy was and how things worked and how much freedom they had under Trump. Because that's where we're at right now. And the tyranny has happened under Joe Biden and his weaponized Department of Justice. I mean, when they kicked down the doors of Mar-a-Lago, it was game over at that point. And this has backfired and backlashed on them unmercifully, as it should. So, by the way, you got Nikki Haley out there. Trump needs to come and debate us. She had another faux pas, foot in mouth, where, she said to the people in New Hampshire, Iowa votes first, but New Hampshire fixes it. Oh. And trust me, the people in Iowa, they're a little PO'd about that. All the latest polling data shows Trump is still going to win Iowa. He's going to beat her in New Hampshire. And he's got a 30-point lead over her in her own state that she was governor of. My prediction is this. Nikki Haley loses Iowa, lose New Hampshire, and then gets out of the race because she doesn't want Trump beating her in the state where she was governor. And if Ron DeSantis is listening, hey, deep state Ron DeSanctimonious, you do the same because you're getting creamed by Donald Trump in Florida. He put all his eggs in the Iowa basket, and he's going to get beaten there. He's going to get trounced in New Hampshire. And he will get decimated in his own state. So that's where we're at. And the deep state knows this. And so they're trying to make this criminality aspect of Trump stick, and it's not. The Supreme Court is going to decide in Trump's favor. And something else has happened that the Democrats did not see. You have got black people across this nation rising up for Trump. You know why? Because they now see Trump like they see themselves. Somebody who is being victimized by the system, being harassed and hounded, and making him do that perp walk in Georgia. Big mistake. The streets were lined, not only with Trump MAGA people, they were lined with black people, African Americans, who now see Donald Trump as one of their own, being harassed by the man, harassed by the law, harassed by a weaponized system designed to withhold something from him that he should be rightfully entitled to, that he should have access to, and they now identify with him. And trust me, the Democrats are losing their minds over that. But that is what's happening right now. So, here we are just a couple of days into 2024, and I'm telling you, things are looking up. Look where I am right now. It's 62 degrees out. I'm sipping my coffee on the anniversary of the date, which may live in infamy, not for MAGA, but for the people who are trying to pull the ultimate coup and hoax on the American people.